Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to Business Innovators Radio. With me today, I have Rajeev Mudumba, who's a dynamic entrepreneur. He's an author, he's a speaker, and he is known for his can-do attitude. I love it. How are you doing, Rajeev?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's really awesome to have you here. Like, wow, you are just so busy. You've got so much going on.
Yes, I do. I like keeping busy.
Brilliant. How did it all start, Rajeev? How did it all begin? What was the starting point for you? And when did you have that light bulb moment when you decided what it is that you're here to do and you decided to go for it?
Sure. So, my career began about 20 plus years ago. I graduated from my MBA school back in India. And this was at the time when computers were kind of becoming prevalent in India at that point in time. And I was probably one of the last batches to get out of school without really touching a computer, probably. And so at that point in time, I ended up in direct marketing. I set up a direct marketing business. I was entrepreneurial right at the get-go. I ran that for a couple of years before I sold it. After that, I got into computers. I joined a technology company, helped them build their exports division, helped them export technology services out of India. And the next best thing for me was to come over to the US. So I came to the US. I did another MBA here. And then I got into corporate America. I've been in corporate America for the last 20 plus years. I've grown through the ranks. I've done different things. I've been on the healthcare and health and wellness side throughout my career. And I think over the years, there's so much that I have gathered in terms of my experience, my expertise, skill set, and all that. And I wanted to find a way, an avenue to give back. And then now when I had some time on my hands, I decided I've been thinking of writing a book forever, since 2006. And I've written books partially, but never got to finishing them. But this time I determined that I was going to get it done. So one thing that I did over the last couple of months is I started a podcast. It's called Plan B Success. And it's a podcast that's available on all the major platforms. And it's also available on planb.live. And what I do there, it's a 3-episode podcast. One of them I release on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays is always an interview with some other inspiring entrepreneur or a sports person or a media person, somebody we can learn from. And then the other 2 episodes that I do is I pick a topic, generally something to do with startups or entrepreneurs or businesses in general. And obviously I have done my own research and then I talk about it. It's just me and the mic. And that's how I do my episodes on Plan B Success. It's been growing. It's about 75 days old right now. And the downloads are growing. The interest is growing across the world, which is great. And then the other thing that I did is I've been meaning to write a book. There's 2 books in my head right now that I'm working on. But the one that I published, it's called My Inspiration Quotes That Shape My Self-Improvement Journey. So over the last 5 to 6 years, what I've been doing is based on my day-to-day experiences, I would come back home and before I go to bed, try to distill my experiences into a single quote that I can come up with. And I've been doing that for over the last 5 to 6 years. And it turned into a pretty large piece of work, about 650, 700 quotes. And I wanted to somehow immortalize it. So I decided to do a book on it. And I ended up doing a 90 plus page book on it, and I self-published on Amazon. So a lot of this has been a self-learning journey for me, like starting a podcast, writing the book and publishing it. And it's available on Amazon as a physical book, an ebook, and an audio version is also available. So that's what I've been doing over the last couple of months. And then the other thing that I am coming up, which is going to launch in November, the first week of November, is Plan B Success Blueprint program that I'm launching. It's a digital coaching program. And what I do there is, I honestly believe there are people in three different buckets in this world. The first one is, obviously we all have a job or we work hard, and, some of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Some of us are in jobs that we're not happy with. We all want to do something different. And I believe everybody has a talent, everybody has a skill. So the first set of people are those who know they want to do something different. They just don't know where to start. They don't even know the skill set that they have, or the passion that they have, or the expertise that they have, and they basically need an reintroduction to confidence. So that's the first group of people. Then the second group of people are a little more confident. They also want to do something different. They also want to do something that will benefit them and benefit the world in the long run, but they again don't know where to start. They know they want to do something. They're more confident than the first group, but they need somebody to introduce them to their own passions, their own skills, their own talents. And then the third group is much ahead of these two other groups. They know exactly what they want. They're confident. They just don't know how to go about it. How do you set up a course? How do you do a podcast? How do you create a digital course? What are the technologies you use? They don't know that, and they need somebody to hold their hand and walk them through to the finish line. So I believe those are the three different groups of people that are out there, and Plan B Success Blueprint is a coaching program that appeals to all these three different groups and will help them from the starting point all the way to that end line to make them successful in pursuing the passion that they want.
That's brilliant. I love the thought of every night you gathering your thoughts together and coming up with a quote for that day. I can see that being so powerful and such a transformational process for you as well. And then to share that in a book with other people, I think that's fantastic. I love that concept.
Thank you.
So about the Plan B Success Blueprint. So you've talked a bit about who it's for. What does it entail?
So what it entails right now is it's more like a workshop. So what I have right now is it's a 3-day workshop, 3 half days. And what I do in those 3 half days is appeal to people to move them from where they are, to help them rebuild their confidence, to look deeper within themselves in order to understand where their passions lie, where their skill sets lie, reintroduce people to their own skill sets and expertise, and point them in the direction where they can go, and then help them with an actual blueprint, step by step, in terms of doing whatever they want. If someone wants to write a book, it'll help them learn the process and execute on it. If someone wants to start a podcast, it'll exactly help them do that. If someone wants to create a digital course, it'll help them do that. If someone wants to be a great speaker, it'll help them do that. But the point is, it begins with that introduction to confidence. So during these 3 half-day sessions, what we do is we go through the process of digging deep into each person on a personal level, and for them to find themselves. And there's basically exercises that we go through. There's actually listening, there's true active thinking, and then even going through worksheets in order to put the pen to paper, so to speak, in order to see it crystallize in front of them. So it's very transformational, and it's all achieved within this 3 half-day sessions.
Okay, brilliant. So for anybody listening today, what can they do straight away to start putting the Plan B Success Blueprint into action?
What I would ask people to do is, obviously sign up for the podcast. It'll give you a lot of information, the kind of information that you need to strengthen yourself. That's what's out there on the podcast. At the same time, the Plan B Success Blueprint, it's going to be launched mid-October. And I'll have a link out there. I have a personal website. It's called rajeevmudumba.com. And I'll have a link out there where you can get on it, and then you can go through a couple of videos and then sign up for the program.
Okay, cool. So that sounds really exciting. What have been your biggest challenges, Rajeev?
I think everybody has challenges, when in business or when actually being a professional out there, you have your day-to-day challenges in terms of sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's operational challenges. But as long as I think you believe in yourself and keep going, time is a great healer and time basically changes a lot of things. My challenges when I was actually doing my podcast or the book was starting from scratch, having to learn what is a podcast, or what are the platforms out there, where do you host it, how do you speak, how do you edit, what kind of technologies do you use, and how do you launch it, then how do you grow it. There's an aspect of ideating, there's an aspect of actually creating the podcast, and finally growing the podcast. So there are three aspects to it. Same thing with the book. You could sit and write a book, and at the same time you got to look at how do you publish it. Learning to self-publish, that's itself is a process. So at every step it's a challenge, but I think every step can also be turned into an opportunity. And now when you come out on the other side with a finished book or a podcast that's running pretty consistently week over week, then you can look back and all the challenges that you had, you've turned them into opportunities.
Absolutely. I love that. So I help people to write books. I help people to get into the media. What I find a lot is that people really, really get in their own way. They want to do things, but they don't. It's almost as though they're running a marathon. They get to the finish line, they see the line, and they run off.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to somebody who really wanted to do something, but who doesn't break through that barrier, who keeps saying, I'll do it soon, I'll do it soon. I might do it tomorrow, but... And of course, then something else always comes up. What would you say to those people?
I think it's taking action. That's the difference, right? So we can dream all day, we can daydream, we can probably dream at night, but it's only a dream so long as you don't take action. You can even dream taking action in your head, but it's not going to move the needle for you. So two things. One is over analysis needs to stop. Once you have come up with an idea and you want to do something, whatever that is, stop analyzing it, because the more you analyze it, the more you dig into it in your brain, what's going to happen is all the challenges around it, even if they don't exist, they start showing up. And as a result, you start rethinking what you initially thought you would do. And that's not healthy. So if you have an idea and you want to take action, just go ahead and take action. It doesn't need to be perfect. That's the other thing. A lot of people wait until they think it's perfect before they do it. No, you just need to get started, whatever shape and form it is in, because over time it'll get perfect. So it's about taking action. It's about making it up in your head and telling yourself that you need to take action and taking that first step. Once you take that first step, whether you like it or not, you force yourself to take that next step. That's how you take action. And if you do take action, there's no telling what's coming your way, right? You could have a plan. For instance, the plan was to write this book, and I wrote the book. But then there's no telling what comes after it. I'm talking to you here, Luana. You and I didn't know each other until a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
then there's new people that you get to meet. There's new opportunities that will come your way, and things have a way of falling in place. The only ask of you is to take action of what you have in control.
absolutely. I fully agree with that. And don't you think as well that people, they tend to hold themselves back? But if only they take that first step, that's what builds confidence, isn't it? Action builds confidence.
Absolutely.
Mm. Yeah, so just take that first step, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And I'd love to hear about what you've done with your book. Like, I can tell, I've seen it out and about, I've seen you promoting it and everything. what kind of opportunities has the book opened up for you?
I think it's done a couple of different things. One is, I started the book. I actually published the book, and I started the podcast around the same time. Around
Awesome.
July, mid-July of this year. And when I started with the book, I published it. I put it on Amazon. First couple of days, crickets, obviously. But then you're also thinking, where do I promote it? I don't have as huge a following as I would have wanted to promote it. But that's when you start getting smart about it. So you start with who your friends, your family. You promote it among them, and then that's where the word starts spreading. And then you look at your own social media channels, like your Facebook, for instance, or LinkedIn, for instance, or Twitter or Instagram, and then you start promoting it there. And then you actually look at the kind of people that you want to promote it to, and you find communities, you find groups on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you get in there and you become a part of that community. You start contributing to that community, and at times you start promoting what you have done, and that's where the attention starts coming in. Same thing with the podcast. I started it. I knew I wanted to do interviews, but I couldn't do interviews at the get go. It takes time. So for my first 2 weeks, it was just me and the mic. But by the third week, I started getting interviews through the same way I did this. And now I'm at a point where I have people reaching out to me to be on the podcast. So now I don't have to be out there scouting for guests, but I'm at a point where guests, they hear about Plan B success, and they are the ones that are coming in. So as a result,
Perfect.
what happens is the realm of influence starts increasing and increasing and increasing, and that's how you go about it to get to where you want to be with what you have done.
That's brilliant. So, what advice would you have for somebody who wants to set up a podcast?
I think it's pretty easy. There's several people offering courses, and that's the other thing. There are so many people offering courses. If you're the kind of a person who needs somebody to handhold you and walk you through, might be good to sign up on a course and learn it. What I have done myself is I have actually spent time on search engines, on Google, for instance, and gathered a lot of information myself. What kind of equipment to buy, what kind of star intros and outros you need to have, what kind of technology to use to record. So, and I would say to that, it's not expensive at all. My equipment is under $100 in terms of my mic and my headset and things like those. What I use for recording my podcasts and for editing them is free software that's available out there. And then in terms of intros and outros, I did it myself. Yeah, I found some royalty free music. I use it. Most of my podcasts are very, very on the topic. I don't spend a lot of time in giving a huge bang up start and a bang up stop to my podcast. It's all about the content. I'm more focused on the content. There's an intro, there's an outro. It has to do with the music, but other than that, it's all content. I end it up always with promoting something. Either I'm promoting my own podcast or I'm promoting my book on my episodes. At a later point, I might have sponsors. I'm already drawing interest from sponsors who want to get on the podcast. That's one way of monetizing it. It's all possible, but the one thing that's very important is consistency. I have to make it a point to make sure that I am releasing episodes, fresh episodes, original content episodes every single week. So that takes time and that takes effort. I got to pick a topic that intrigues me. I got to be able to do my research. I got to be able to create my content, do my write up, and then do my speaking. So there's a whole exercise involved, and it's not easy, but it's something, if you continue to do and are consistent with it, can be very, very rewarding. It's a part of your personal brand. It's a part of who you are, and it's a part of you spreading your influence out there. And the best part about it is I can reach anybody on the planet without really the need for an external introduction,
Mm-hmm.
without really feeling embarrassed. And I have reached people, and I am drawing interest from people with a bigger influencer uh, aura around them. And I think soon you'll start seeing some of those people on my podcast as well. But imagine the kind of connections you can make without really
Mm.
moving out of your home or your office, without really stepping out onto the street. You can talk to anybody, the the best, the most intriguing, the mightiest, the most influential, whatever kind of people that you're trying to target across the globe. And it's pretty amazing when I look at downloads, right? That my downloads have been increasing. I started in July. For the first 15 days, I think I probably did about 150 odd downloads. Well, now my last month was over 1,000 plus, and so it's increasing. And when I
Yeah,
look
that's brilliant.
and when I look at the world map, it feels so good because you see somebody from a couple of different countries in Africa listening to you, somebody from Japan, somebody from
Yes.
Germany, all over the globe,
You're
countries.
creating an impact all
Yes,
over the world. And the thing is as well, we'll never really know how much of an impact that we've had, because a lot of people will, well, they'll never let you know. They'll just listen, they'll take action, and they
mhm.
might have made some massive changes. Like, you'll never know how far your message has spread.
You're right. You're so right, and I think that's where it comes through. And I think we all have something to share. We all have
Mm.
done things in our life, whether you're a 22, 21, 22-year old, or whether you're a 45, 46-year old, whoever you are in your life, you've got a sum total of your experiences, your expertise. You absolutely do have talents. Some of us are great writers, some of us are great speakers, some of us sing well, some of us dance well. Whatever it is, pick it up and run with it. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference
Yes.
between just doing a job out there. And I'm a strong believer in one thing. Like, when we talk about movie stars, when
Mm.
you remember them for their work. They might have
Yeah.
done, somebody who's been a movie star for 3 decades. People still remember them for that first or second piece of work that they did, and that'll live
Mm.
on even after they pass off. But when you look at any ordinary employee in an organization, you just get paid for what you do, but the work that you have done, yesterday's work is history. It's over, it's gone,
Mm.
right? And how do you change that for yourself? You have to take the initiative to change that for yourself. A book lives on, a podcast lives on, your
Yes.
influence lives on. And I think it's time people start making that difference for themselves.
Yes, I agree 100%. Awesome, Rajiv. Right, do you know what time it is? It's time for Get in the Bin. So, this is the part of the show where you get to choose one idea or business practice, anything to do with the business world that you want to get rid of, and we're going to throw it in the bin right here, right now. So, what's it going to be, Rajiv?
I want to talk about email etiquette and communication etiquette when you're in business. Obviously, you are interacting with a lot of different people when you're in a business, and when there's a lot of interaction, a lot of communication going on, there's also going to be conflicts that come up. And I've done this in my career at some point as well, which is when you don't like something, you tend to, in the impulse of the moment, in that whatever your mind frame is at that point in time, you get an email, you don't like it, and you want to immediately reply back, and you end up doing that. I've done that, and later I've regretted it. One of the things that I do right now is I let it sit. There might be some information I get, I'm not happy with it, and first thing I do is I do my draft email in that very mind frame that I'm in. So I just blurt out everything that I want to say on the email, and then I let it sit for a day. And the next day, when I come back after having slept on it, then I look at what I have written the previous day. Then there's a lot of changes I make in terms of my message before I send it out. And it's the difference between mind frames in the moment and after the moment when you have thought through. And when you communicate that, it's a totally different tone, and it it actually allows you to achieve what you have set out to do. And I think a lot of people make that mistake of communicating impulsively. And I think that can change in businesses. It will help the people personally. At the same time, it will help repair the relationships and actually achieve the goals that people want to.
There we go. So no emotional, fiery responses. Take time to calm down first and then come back to it and respond rather than react. Isn't that right, Rajeev?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I want to ask you one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued by your book of quotes. I will be buying a copy. But I'd love to know, for everyone listening today, what is your favorite quote from the whole book?
Wow. Since it's a book of my own quotes, obviously many of them are my favorite, but I'm going to give you two quotes. One is a quote it's not my own. I don't know who wrote it, but it's an anonymous quote, and it's had a profound impact on me. The very first time I read it, I was like, wow. Once I registered it, that's how I felt, and I still remember it. So obviously that says a lot about it. And the quote it's an anonymous quote. It goes like this: "Don't tell me sky is the limit, for there are footsteps on the moon."
Yes, love it.
Yeah, so that's an awesome quote. So one of my favorites from my own book is this: "Those who can't do, teach. Those who have done it, teach better, but those who have tried, teach it the best."
Brilliant, brilliant. That's awesome, very powerful.
Thank you.
Right, Rajeev, you've been fantastic. Thank you for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been awesome. Thank you. And to everybody listening, you've also been fantastic. I'm Luana Ribeira with Rajeev today, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.